On Mondays, we like to start off with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym. We try to figure out what in the hey nani nani are these experts talking about? Why is it important to us? What do we need to know? I don't know about you, but I see this and I go, somebody help me. Like, I just want to run for the hills. This is our jargon term today. And oddly enough, we've been on the air. We're about to have our 11th birthday in just a couple of weeks. 11 years. Can you believe that? But we've never done this jargon term because I think I have a little undiagnosed PTSD with this. I think that's what I arrived at this morning because I think I just avoid it. Let's talk about why. So VB-MAPP, you may have heard of this. You may hear of it yet. Let's try to take some of the sting out of it so that we know what in the hey nani nani are we talking about. Now, we like to give you the actual definition, and then we like to take it down a notch and make it user-friendly so that you can actually get a grip on what are we really talking about and what are the connotations and so on and so forth. So let's wade the you-know-what into this. A VB-MAPP. It stands for the Verbal Behavior Milestones Assessment and Placement Program. Ooh, that's a mouthful, right? It's a criterion-referenced assessment tool, curriculum guide, and skill tracking system that is designed for children with autism and other individuals who demonstrate language delays. There's a lot there, isn't it? Okay, so let's just read it one more time, Traven, before we go on to the working definition. Criterion referenced assessment tool. I hate it when they use assessment because I don't know. I feel like it's like you're assessing land. And I hated it when I was a teacher. I'm giving an assessment today. You're giving a quiz. Get over yourself. You're giving a test. You're gauging something. You're trying to see what it is, but it's an assessment. That's all multi-purpose. I hate it. It's a curriculum guide. So not only are we going to look at where somebody is, but we're going to try to teach it, and a skill tracking system that's designed for children with autism and other individuals. Here's the important part: who demonstrate language delays, because that's what we're going to be talking about. So let's move on to a quiz. Let's move on to a slightly easier, maybe we can get a foothold. It's a tool. It's a tool to see where a child's language deficits are and what classroom placement would be appropriate for them. But here's the important thing that I want you to know about VB-MAPP. It's only looking at verbal behavior and not other aspects of autism. So I don't want to say that I have anything against VB-MAPP because I think it's got its place and what it needs to do, but I'll explain to you why it's a little PTSD for me here in just a second. But I want you to know this can be a very useful tool. And if somebody says they want to assess your child, there's that word again, using the VB-MAPP, it's not a reason to run for the hills and scream and cry. But just know that when they come back, it's all based on Skinner's work with verbal behavior, which we talk about a lot here, that verbal behavior, it's all the different pieces that make up language. And they're going to look at all of it. And that can be very useful to see where your child's language deficits are and where you might want to start to teach and what placement might be appropriate in the classroom. Here is the big asterisk for me, though. You should never just base your entire curriculum on the VB-MAPP. And did you just hear all the experts go, oh, she didn't say it. But here's the thing. Your child is much more than a language deficit. Your child has other things going on. A VB-MAPP's not going to tell you what their sensory issues are. And if your child has sensory issues and you just wade in and are going to teach them language without consideration for that, let's guess how great are we going to do here, right? So I'm a fan of a multi-prong approach that looks at the whole individual and certainly takes into consideration the child's language deficits. Certainly, of course. I mean, my goodness, right? Because the language deficit is also going to interplay with everything. But I don't think it's the be-all, end-all, end of the road thing. And you will meet some people, hi, Tai Geist, you will meet some people who are just like VB-MAPP, VB-MAPP, VB-MAPP. Well, okay, that's great. What happens when the child has a meltdown? Where's the plan for that? And I feel like a lot of what goes wrong right now is people just getting in these little boxes experts who are like, I know the VB-MAPP. The VB-MAPP is important. I'm not going to argue with that. But if you can only see it from that point of view, you're missing a great deal, in my opinion. There you go. So anyway, VB-MAPP, important. Now, why does it give me PTSD? So even this morning, I was thinking about it and I was like, I should probably freshen my memory a little bit about what kinds of things do they do with the VB-MAPP so I can speak intelligently about it, because I was like, I'm not even sure, like, how, did Jem have the VB-MAPP, and like, which one was that? Because all of these assessments get very, I don't know about you, but they get all gobbledygook in my head. I'm like, which one is that? What did it look like? And so this morning I decided to play a video. You can go online and there's a video that says VB-MAPP assessment with a 2-year-old. And I started to watch it and I was like, oh, right, it's that one. And there's nothing horrible about it, you guys. It just reminds me of one of the most difficult times in my life. And I just got to say this to you. I am not there anymore. That is not what happened. And I've already read the end of our story and it was a happy ending. And still, I was just about in the fetal position this morning watching. Because here's the thing, in that video, they showed the VB-MAPP assessment with a neurotypical 2-year-old. And so this is the one, you guys, where they take your child into a room and they have a big suitcase and they put the suitcase down and they open up the suitcase, and the suitcase has a bunch of materials for the person who's giving the test, but it's got a bunch of toys, and they take the toys out one at a time, and they're colorful toys, and they set them in front of the child, and they just kind of observe, what is the child drawn to? There's no mistreatment, there's nothing horrible, and they just sort of take notes on, does the child notice anything? Do they, do anything? And then they'll give them some little things where, like, they'll take the blocks and they set the blocks up and to see if the child will mimic them. And then they push the blocks down and they say, you do. And then the child puts the blocks up, right? And my child that I remember had this done twice. And I remember the first time, already so emotional talking about it, after we had waited months to go in with a developmental pediatrician, and I knew that it was a day that was going to change our lives. And she took out the suitcase and interacted with my son, and I can remember looking at what he was doing and thinking, I don't understand what they're looking for. What are they looking? What is he doing that's so wrong? Why? And because he was doing stuff, he certainly wasn't talking. But watching this 2-year-old this morning, getting to see what it looks like when a child doesn't have a language delay, it was like a hot poker right through my heart. This little girl, like the assessor, was taking out the toys and she said, oh, orange, a 2-year-old. Oh, yellow. And she held one up and she goes, circle. And then she held up another thing, unprompted, you guys, held up another thing and she said, big circle, little circle, no prompts. And it was just that moment this morning where I went, oh, right. That's what we didn't have. And even though I'm at a point where we already went through the gauntlet and we're fine, and my son can do the big circle, little circle and tell me everything he's thinking and, all of those things, it still like burned my heart. Ugh. And all I could think was, for all of you who are at different places on this journey, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard when we don't know what they're doing, but it's also hard when we do and we see the differences between our kids and other kids. To see that little 2-year-old who was just going through each one of the things and was chatty Cathy with the assessor, I was like, oh, right. That's what was different for us. We didn't get that. We didn't get the little 2-year-old magpie thing. And I have to remind myself, we're okay. We survived that. It's not everything. And that for the people who have the little magpies who do everything, there's a whole lot of celebration that they missed out on, that we celebrated everything. And I wouldn't change a hair on my child's head. I wouldn't change a part of the story anymore. Doesn't change that it's still painful. So when we take our kids for assessments, I think you need to shore yourself up in any way that you can healthily. You know, give yourself a reward for doing it. Talk nice to yourself. Give yourself happy things to surround yourself with. The assessments are important. And they help us to chart the course. Don't hang everything on it. Don't make it your be all end all. Do these things because it helps the expert, but don't let it define your child. Don't. The first time that my son did this, they told us that he had so little language that they really couldn't get a good bead on what his intellect was, that they couldn't rule out that he was someone who was developmentally delayed because there was so little language. And I mean, I was like, well, so where are we in terms? And they were like, yeah, no, I mean, he has not even enough language for us to get a bead on what's happening. So when I tell you how devastating that was and where we are now, I want you to feel hope to carry through whatever you have to do. It's not the end of the story. Your story is different than mine for sure, but it's not the end of the story. I'm throwing hugs around you. It gets better, right? Thanks for watching Autism Live. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.